Hey, and welcome, Justice Serve TV family. Michael Bryant here. Hey, Azumi with Aidan Kearney. Is the new judge really better? Was he a good witch or a bad witch? We'll find out about that. We'll get into that. And Brian Walsh, is the jury actually hearing information that might suggest everything was hunky dory with Anna and Brian Walsh right up till it wasn't?
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
justice when we see it? To be and Damila lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. It's Nary Clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
Hello, friends. Hey, thanks for joining. Michael Bryant here. Linda Kenny Baden, who's on assignment. I've assigned her to some free time because she just had the day in court yesterday in the other Aidan Kearney matter, the one in Atlantic City. So she is relaxing, which is good. This has been a long week for anybody else. I feel like it's been kind of a long week. Anyway, so grab an adult beverage, sit back. Let's take it down a notch, shall we? Okay, who put water in my water? What? Anyway, so that was quite the mess. Anyway, before we get into what we've got to get into, we've got to get into this. Okay, a couple of rip and read type items here. More Epstein files are coming out. You probably heard that on the 19th, some bazillion gigawatts are coming out, and it's going to be, tens of thousands of documents. But in the meantime, they've just decided in Florida to release the Epstein files from Florida, which are specific to his activities down there. So that should be coming sooner rather than later. Also in court today, no, wait, not in court today. Luigi Mangione, as you know, here in the Manhattan court, it's obviously right over my shoulder. They've been handling some suppression hearings all week. They were good Monday, Tuesday. They were dark Wednesday, and then they were back yesterday, and today they couldn't be there. Why? Luigi's sick. Yeah, Luigi Mangione not feeling up to it. So they did not have court today. If you're concerned, you can send Luigi a get well card. Just send those to hell. And Fitzsimmons, I learned from the clerk today. We've talked before about the decision we're waiting on, of course, the full panel of the SJC in Massachusetts, waiting to determine whether or not Kelsey Fitzsimmons should be released from jail while she awaits trial on the armed assault charge, or should she stay in? And I think the decision could come down next week. What I've been told is it truly has been accepted for an expedited review, but the total review time normally is up to 130 days. Sources are telling me it ain't going to be over the weekend, but it could be as early as next week. And I'll bet you with the pressure from public sentiment and the holidays looming, I'm thinking next week, maybe the week after, but certainly before Christmas, if it's going to happen. I just think a decision will come down in that time period. And I just think, having read their acceptance of the case and their suggestion this needs to be reviewed, tells you something, right? So fingers crossed for that. Oh, and one other thing. Now, many people remember my license plate issue with Connecticut. I wanted Law Jerk, which I had in California, which I had in New York. Come here to Connecticut. Oh, I just want Law Jerk. No, you can't have that. Jerk is a dirty word, so you can't have that. And I've asked through FOIA requests many times. I'm going to pursue it, but it's on my list. It just ain't high enough yet for my act to move to the next level, which would be a lawsuit. They've responded to the FOIA request saying, we got your request, but they have never done what they're required by law to do, which is then either produce the materials you've asked for or say they don't exist. They've done neither. They just that's how the government is. If we didn't learn that from Fulton County, right, where Ashley had to go in and Ashley Merchant had to go in and sue and get $54,000 in legal fees when she won. Remember that hearing? That was amazing, where the guy was so cocky, and it was an embarrassment for Fulton County that went ahead and reelected Fonnie Willis. Anyway, so that's my history with Connecticut and the license plates. So I'm working on that. And in the meantime, they gave me something else that I didn't really want. So for this, the new mobile studio vehicle, ordered some license plates. I wanted something very simple. I wanted JSTV. That's it. I went in to their database, and sure enough, JSTV. It didn't say available. It said something like abandoned or something that would suggest that it was available. Like it may have said canceled, suggesting that somebody had asked for it, and then maybe it was Linda Michel Bryant. But it was available to put in their little search engine. Okay, they always make you put a backup as well. So I get to this. This just came today. I open this up. First of all, I'm like a kid with Christmas. I'm like, I'm feeling it. I can feel that it's not just 4 letters. I can just tell. And so I'm, they went with my backup. Maybe I'm okay with this. Maybe I'm going to keep it. Maybe I'm going to just give up on these guys. This is what we ended up with. Mr. JSTV. That way, I guess if Linda ever gets one, she can be Ms. JSTV. But she's going to have New York anyway, where they will give you anything you want. They don't care. So there it is. Should I keep the Mr. JSTV, or should I wrangle them to find out why they didn't give me my first choice, which was or maybe I just put a piece of blue tape over this and wait till I get pulled over. How about that? Anyway, so that's the license plate challenge, as I'm calling it, and it is quite the challenge. Speaking of challenges, Aidan Kearney, we went through this hearing today. We were one of the few that made the effort to reach out to the court and get the approval to stream it. So the clip I want to show is a clip of us showing the clip, which gets to be a little weird, but I think it's important. If you didn't catch this earlier today, it was about 45 minutes of BS back and forth, but it introduced us to the new judge, Belezos. I think that's one of many possible pronunciations, Belezos. I'm not as impressed with him as LKB was. Yeah, he seemed fine for being in the chair the first day, but I want to see action. Remember, this was going to be the day for the big mega motion, right? December 5th. This was going to be the day. That ended up being squashed when they appointed the new judge, who then said, "Hey, I'm overwhelmed. I can't possibly do anything of interest on one day. Let's just have more scheduling discussions and maybe dabble into discovery." So that's what they did via Zoom. They decided at the last minute to make it a Zoom hearing as well. So they did. The judge had opportunities to prove that he's not just a rubber stamping robe protecting robes, which we've seen by so many in Norfolk County. I'm not impressed. He had an opportunity. We know that Cosgrave, and I'm going to continue to call him Cosgrave until he learns how to pronounce Aidan Kearney's name correctly. He says Kearney, always, no matter what. In fact, today, the judge, out of respect and courtesy, asked Aidan, who was there on Zoom, "How do you pronounce that, your last name?" And he says Kearney. And that's within a minute of the judge then going to Cosgrave about some discovery issue. And the first thing out of Cosgrave's mouth is Kearney. I mean, is it disrespect? Linda thinks it's disrespect. I think he's a moron. And his brain just doesn't understand simple concepts like how to pronounce a name. So she has him as a little more evil than that. I just have him as an idiot. Anyway, so Mr. Kearney, according to Cosgrave, is just fine. Everything's just fine. Everything's moving along as it should. Remember, one of the key issues is the recusal of Cosgrave, because he's compromised. There's a conflict. The Gattani incident or incidents in which he is going to be a witness, that got him recused from one case of the 3. There's only 2 left now. And he has one that he's more connected with this potential witness than another. But, why keep him in any of these cases? It makes absolutely no sense. Did they decide that today? No, they did not. They did nothing but set another date for it. So mark your calendars, and it's coming up here. Let me see, which century is this going to happen in? Where did I put that? Oh, that one's over here on my other legal pad. The 23rd, Friday the 23rd. That is when the recusal is going to be heard. And now we're in Suffolk County. Now, I understand the way Massachusetts works. I don't really understand it, but this is what I've been told. The judge goes where they are assigned. So even though there's 0 to do with Suffolk County, this is now going to be in Suffolk County for all purposes going forward. It makes perfect sense to me. Nothing happened in Suffolk County. You're not even driving through Suffolk County. Suffolk County is to the north of Norfolk County, and it is basically Boston. So that's where it's going to be on Friday, January 23rd. The judge said either noon or 2-ish because he thinks it's going to be an afternoon only matter. It's not going to drag on. It's not going to take a full day. Little does he know. Anyway, so I want to let's look at a little bit of the judge in action here and give you a sense of what it was like today for him. And again, it gets a little, let me see if I can find the right one here. Apologize. It gets a little weird because it's our video within our video. So it's, it's like, whoa, that's crazy. And somebody give me a thumbs up if the audio, sometimes using it from, it's not, it doesn't work quite right, is what I'm getting at. So this, of course, is Attorney Betterow. We're going to try and get him on next week to get his insights on what is happening here. Judge Belizos is on the right there. He's in the robe. And then you'll see as the dynamic shifts here, you'll see Tim Bradel as well. He'll pop in at a certain point. And then you can see down below, like you see to the hard left, you can see the JSTV logo. And then right next to that is Bradel. And then I think it's Aidan. I think. Anyway, and then mostly you just see names of those that have popped into this thing. I just want to make sure. No audio. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. That's the issue that we always have with this damn thing. What's wrong with you? Oh, it's probably not me. Give it back into it. Let's do it as a video file. How about that? How about that? Let's try that. Okay, let's try it again. Come on, where are you? Come on. Come on. Okay, Aidan Kearney. Bear with me, please. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I think this might be better. Again, open your ears for me and let me know.
Contained in a filing from some time ago. One of the most important witnesses in the indictments, if not the most important witness, testified in the grand jury, alleged to a series of, I believe, threatening Facebook messages and family members receiving all kinds of nasty images and comments that she claimed originated from the client or someone else. That would seem to be clearly discoverable. That would seem to be something that clearly, if not in the Commonwealth's actual possession, is, coming from their star witness, would be in their custody or control. And we haven't received that.
I don't know who you're talking.
Jennifer McCabe.
Oh, hello. Hello. So what
I
he's
will-
saying is, again, Ken Mello, may he be as healthy as he can possibly be. They keep blaming the fact that he is no longer involved in the case with this inability to get the material they need. That is such bullshit. Are you kidding me? And so what do? They say, and this to me was the perfect request of this new judge. He doesn't have to look very far into the process to see that they've been looking for discovery for 2 years, things that should be very accessible to the Commonwealth, as Mr. Betterow just suggested. Okay, so let's see how this back and forth goes about some effort to speed up this process.
I will look into that as to Mr. Betterow's earlier point. The materials that I had just sent him, check is literally in the mail as of yesterday, and it should be received no later than Monday, if the post office can be believed. Does include materials that I received from Mr. Betterow, notably a grand jury exhibit.
Okay, you notice he said materials he received from Mr. Betterow, and you see Mark Betterow go, like your dog. And then, cause grave finally fixes himself.
They recently complained that I'm sorry, received from Mr. Mello, not from Mr. Betterow, notably a grand jury exhibit that the defense has complained that they had never received, that was not in my possession or in the possession of the state police. And I finally managed to get it from Mr. Mello, who had that particular exhibit. So they'll be receiving that and some other materials from Mr. Mello.
Okay. All right. Well, if there are particular issues that need to be addressed by the court, let me know. We can get to it quickly in the Zoom.
Okay, so here you have Cosgrave doing his usual song and dance. And first of all, people are saying, what the hell's he got set up there? This looks like you're at the DMV. Speaking of the DMV, where you go and you have the blue background or some blank background so they can take your picture for your license. This, I believe, is Cosgrave's attempt at having a blue screen behind where he might normally do whatever he does, so that you can do, as a lot of folks do, a lot of creators do. I know Aidan Kearney uses the blue screen or green screen and puts behind him, whatever. Cosgrave is either borrowing somebody's office or has no idea. At the very least, just center up on your background. It's not that tricky. So the judge is like, well, anything I can do, just ask, and you decide whether it's a hollow offer or not.
Deal with it.
Judge, I think there are, and respectfully to Mr. Cosgrove, Mr. Mello seems to be the root of or a lot of these problems. And it seems to me what the Commonwealth can do is send somebody over to Mr. Mello's home or office and take custody of everything, so we don't have to rely upon Mr. Mello to discover grand jury exhibits from 2023 and 2024 being disclosed at almost Christmas time in 2025. They have the ability and resources to do it. We're entitled to this material. Waiting on Mr. Mello to provide discovery that shows up periodically doesn't seem like the best way to do it, respectfully.
Well, I'm going to leave.
Okay, so Mellow Yellow, we know he's got issues. Why not just send somebody over? I saw somebody in the chat say, just go to his house. Yes, wherever the material may be, just go get it. And any judge worth his salt, having just a clue about the background in this case, would say, Mr. Cosgrave, you got 48 hours. Turn this, get it however you need to get it. You want to borrow a truck, whatever, go get it. It is inappropriate to be withholding this for this period of time, and the defense has a right to this material, period. So let's see what the judge says.
Details of how Attorney Cosgrove complies with the Rule 14 to Attorney Cosgrove. Just let it be known that he has to comply with Rule 14. If you don't, there can be sanctions. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not inclined to micromanage. I'm not going to micromanage how he complies, except to say comply. And we'll leave the details to the parties who are responsible.
Yeah, so that would be fine if the parties involved had proven that they know how to follow the law and deadlines and be cooperative. They don't. We know they don't. This judge, I guess, has to be slapped over the face with further evidence that they don't, because he could have done something much more heavy-handed and appropriate in this case, but he didn't. You guys, you work it out. I'm not gonna be micromanaging the discovery. Yeah, you should be, because of what's been happening.
Okay. Let's assume the disqualification goes away. Let's assume that the motion to dismiss, the new motion to dismiss, is unsuccessful. Let's talk about the two indictments. How do the parties feel about joinder?
I think it makes perfect sense.
Mr. Bradle, Ms. Betterow?
It's a little premature for us, Judge. We're sort of baking the cake right now, and we'd appreciate it if you let us respond to that on our next date.
Fine. I want to get started and sort of thinking about these things, because they are all the same folks, and it seems like this case, in terms of evidentiary, the acts themselves, I want to speak for anybody, but they don't appear to be hotly contested. It's what they are is what the issue is. One says First Amendment, the other says witness intimidation. That's sort of my sense of what the evidence is. You can tell me I'm wrong about that, but
It's a very fair characterization, Your Honor. You know, there's a bit more to do on the newer indictment. We don't have grand jury minutes even yet, and
No, I understand. You did-
Okay, I can't hear any more of that. Not Tim Bradle, but the judge, him and Hahn, and really doing nothing to push this along. And I see from those in the chat that it's just the continued aggravation. Yeah, new judge, same old story. We'll see what happens now on the 23rd of January. That would be next year. And in the meantime, Aidan Kearney, of course, is just kind of, the hatchet's hanging, the axe is ready to fall if somebody wants to, be a shit about it, as they were before. I don't know. It's just, it's discouraging. It is unfortunately not surprising. And, we'll keep watching it to see what happens next. I will tell you there is a lot of paperwork out there. We started to go through some of it. Remember, we never even got to this. And I was hoping we would, to see if the judge, and again, another test for the judge, would he whack Cosgrave because he was not only 8 days late on his deadline to comply with his opposition to the motion to dismiss, but he said nothing about it until the day he filed it and sent a note to the court saying, hey, it's been busy, I have a problem with my filing this late. That was never addressed. And so you know what's going to happen. This motion to dismiss, it's not happening on January 23rd. That's not the next case. That's just the recusal. Depending on what happens there, my belief is he won't recuse him. That's just my gut feeling. And if he does, that'll cause further delay because we'll have to find out if there's somebody else to be assigned. Maybe it's in the big picture good for Aidan Kearney. Maybe they decide there is no prosecutor that can step in that doesn't have an overall conflict. That's kind of what happened in the one case that was dismissed. I think they'll just not recuse him and let it lumber on with the very obvious conflicts, which I think will at some point have a big impact on resolving the cases. I just think it will. I don't think they can just ignore it completely, but I do think they're going to ignore it in the upcoming hearing. Then they move to the motion to dismiss. Oh, well, when's that going to be heard? I don't know. Let's check our calendars. Oh, I don't know. Now we're you're going to be in the late spring, early summer for the motion to dismiss. And at that point, is any delay by Cosgrove at this time prejudicial? No, it's really not. I can't argue with that. But the fact is, when you keep blowing off deadlines, when you just say, those aren't even deadlines to me. It's on my calendar in pencil or crayon if you're Cosgrave. Just so what? There is no prejudice, so now we can ignore it. And they will. That's exactly what will happen. There is never a consequence for blowing a deadline. And if it happens in this case, 4 months before the actual hearing, there truly is no prejudice. But there's also no message sent that you can't ignore the court schedules just because you should. One thing that also came up was both Mr. Betterow and Mr. Cosgrave said they're going to file even more documentation for the motion to dismiss. Normally, and I know that's a hard word to use. Somebody says I'm blurry. Do I look blurry? I don't feel blurry. Let me check my. Yeah, I'm on the fast link here. So apologize if I'm blurry. What was I talking about? Oh, normally you've got a motion, then you've got a response, and then you have a reply. And that's usually about it. If the court allows it, you might have a SIR response and a SIR reply, meaning another round. But that shouldn't be the case. Here, we're already well past that, and we have both Cosgrave and Mr. Betterow saying we got another couple things we need to say. Why? Because more and more stuff has been learned as they move forward with the ever pending motion to dismiss. Man. Yes, I am blurry. I hear I'm so blurry. Curious, because based on my electronics here, this is as good as it gets. I'm going to try something. This is tricky. Don't give up on me if I glitch out and come back. I'm very hesitant to do this. Worse on my TV than phone. Well, that makes sense. Okay, I'm trying something here. Let's see what happens. I hit a button. Let's see if I disappear and come back. Okay, I'll leave it to you guys to give me some feedback. We can hear you. Okay, it's radio. It's radio. Yeah, and Missy has the night off as well. So thank you. I see Sheila Duffy doing some modding there, and I appreciate that. Okay, so no change. Okay, I'm going to leave it where it is then, just because I don't want to risk it by. I mean, I was toggling between routers, and I don't want to, toggle back. Could be the weather. Who knows? Oh, this says way worse. Oh, way worse. Okay, well, I don't want way worse. Let me try it again. Okay, here I'm toggling again. Toggling. Here I am toggling. Yeah, and this is the high-speed landline. This is not even like Wi-Fi. Where I am now. Now I'm back. I'm back. Okay, I'm back on the less blurry one, perhaps. Okay, so that's about all of that hearing I can put up with. I've covered all the high points of what is happening, what might happen. And the key takeaways are nothing really happened. The recusal motion is moved to January of next year. Everything's going to be in Suffolk County now. And documents for whatever these follow-up replies might be, they're going to be due on the 13th of January, 10 days before the hearing. Okay, so I'm back, and somebody said it looks good now. So okay, that's it for that case. And if you missed earlier when LKB was on, what we can tell you about the Aidan Kearney Atlantic City case is that they had a trial all day yesterday. Can't talk about the evidence. But there was no cross-examination of any witnesses yet, so it's still, as you can tell, genius. It's the complainant's case in chief that's underway. They got to go back on December 18th to continue, and it's a continuing saga that keeps the First Amendment, in a headlock as it relates to Aidan Kearney. Really, if you think about it, as it relates to anybody who even wants to talk about the case, right? Because there are things that I'm not allowed to say. And you couldn't walk in and see what happened because, well, that's a very good question I'm asking myself. Originally, the whole thing was going to be on Zoom, but they sealed the hearing itself from the public in terms of promoting it. Like you couldn't go on the docket and see it was there. But what if they were there all day? What if you learned somehow, hey, they're doing, and you went to go in to the courtroom? Would they bar you? Would they have put the locks on the door? Man, I wish I had asked that question earlier. It's a bit of a drive. I couldn't have squeezed in there in time to do much good. But anyway, I don't know what this means. Did Colleen Crawford edit your live video? Is that a person related to Mike Crawford? I don't know. Karma Dharma, you'll have to fill that in for me. Is it a civil case? Technically, yes, if we're talking about Atlantic City, technically it is a civil case, but it smells like a criminal complaint just by the way it lays out. It's kind of a hybrid of sorts. I'll put it that way. And I'm not saying this, yes or no. I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I did not say that. Okay. Poor Aidan's life is continuing. It really is. And, in many ways, it feeds on, what really made him a household name, depending on where you happen to live. And certainly it had mega impact on the Karen Read case. But at a certain point, it's just, if this becomes your life, that is just downright sad. You got to move on. You just got to move on. And hopefully at some point he will be able to do that. Oh, let's see. Colleen Crawford edit video for the Karen Read case. Okay. All right. Hey, of course, Jules. As much info as I can pass along. That's my goal. It's been a crazy long week, and I appreciate everybody tuning in and checking out some of our coverage of the Walshe case. In fact, earlier in the week, we were on the road up in Dedham for the case, and we will go back next week. Here's a tidbit you may not have picked up on if you weren't here earlier, but 99% chance Proctor is going to testify in the Walshe case. What? We started, and I say we, the royal we, I was starting to think they had Schmidt on there as the lead investigator for a day, right? They just finished with Keefe, who you may remember him from Karen Read 2, where he brought out the wrong shoe, or he fumbled through his testimony there. He did some fumbling today too, and I want to get to that because I think it's very important in terms of the defense case. And they had, of course, Guarino. So they had all of these players with substantial amounts of evidence for the investigation. And I'm thinking they're trying to work around Proctor. Because if it's me, Proctor, I mean, yes, I want to cross-examine him. But if I'm putting on my case, he's not on the top of my list. I want him as far from my case as possible. But today, when the judge was making a ruling on some of the texts and other information that may come into this case, she said it may apply when Proctor testifies, or it may not even apply when Proctor testifies. When Proctor testifies was the important part of that discussion. So she's been led to believe he's going to testify. Things could change, of course, but that's the day I want to be there with some popcorn. And I'm going to go back. I'm guessing, unless I can learn more from my sources, I'm guessing when that's going to be. But I want to be there. And we also believe that Brian Walshe is going to testify as a result of his latest maneuver, which is she was just dead. She was just dead. Yeah. Let's see. Yuri's on standby too. Yeah. Well, I'm confident Yuri is definitely going to be there because, as you may remember, bumped into him in the hallway on day one, and he had to make an appearance with DeChico and a couple of other folks in front of the court to just say, we're here, we understand, we're going to be called. And the judge, I've never seen this before, where the judge brings in potential witnesses and says, I got my eye on you, I know who you are, how you fit into this, and I fully expect you'll be available when we need you. That's what it was like. It was just bizarre. And then they all just filed out, came in their Sunday best, and then boom, 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 they're out the door. So I guess, in terms of roulette, I could catch one or all of them on a given day. So what I like to do is go up early. I actually don't like to go up early, but it's kind of required if I'm going to get there by 9:30 for the first witness, and then stay overnight and I can pack 2 full days into a pretty short time frame. So next week, I don't know, maybe I'll do Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm just hoping Monday comes about too fast and I got too much going on and too much to catch up on over the weekend in my real world, in my real life. So I hope to get there and do Tuesday, Wednesday, and just hope that maybe I'll get lucky and it'll be those days. If not, because it's a good chance Proctor is more likely on the defense list than the Commonwealth's list for the reasons I mentioned, but we don't know. We just don't know how it's going to play out. He could be even taken out of order. Who knows? Hold on a sec. Music to my soul. I like that. Thank you so much. Just joining. Do we know if Aidan's case will be able to be streamed now that it's being heard in Suffolk Court? Sorry if you already addressed this. No, that's a good question. I would say yes, and I say that only because the judge is the judge is the judge. Bellazos, Judge B is now in charge of the case, no matter where it is. And it's going to be in Suffolk, but it's going to be in the court that he is overseeing. Since it was Zoomed today, I would think at the very least, and I believe it would be the least, they'll allow continued Zooming. I hope that they will allow streaming and broadcast, and we'll be on top of that. For those who may not recall, a few weeks ago, I asked to go and be the pool camera for this hearing today. That was before they switched it to a Zoom hearing. Under the rules in Massachusetts, you can have both a normal commercial camera, typical commercial camera like your local affiliate, and a streaming channel, both, which I give them full credit for. That's very sophisticated and very upfront. Although I will tell you, when I went and covered the last Kelsey Fitzsimmons case, remember where she was in the cage and they wouldn't even let her come sit at the defense table? I mean, it was so embarrassing, so sad to see her behind that glass, and she's signaling her parents and I love you. And anyway, the bailiffs had no clue when I was saying, look, I'm authorized and I've requested and I'm going to do the streaming version of the camera. They said, no, there's a camera here already. I think it was channel 7 was there. And I said, doesn't matter. Read the rule. You can have both. And we did. And the thing is, because I was there with another streamer and I didn't know I was going to be able to until that morning. I wasn't able to set up, and there was no microphone like on the lectern to get good audio. And the guy from Channel 7 didn't string up a microphone. I was shocked. When we did the other hearing at the Family and Probate Court just down the street, he did a microphone. I did a microphone. We had nice, crisp audio. This time it was crap. So hopefully next time there will be a little more planning. And I just say that because you can't count on the traditional commercial TV folks. Just can't, and I won't. It was just a weird circumstance last time. But my point is that not even the court personnel know that you can have these two different sources of media. But it's a great rule, and I applaud them for doing that. So to answer that long answer short question, I guarantee, as much as you can, based on the history of today, we'll have Zoom at the very least, and I would hope that traditional camera will be allowed. So that would be great. That would be just great. Okay, video stream looking much better now. Can I take credit for it with my super chat? Oh, of course. Why not? Thanks so much for answering my tweet. You bet. Yeah, the picture is cleaner, but I apologize. I think you understand what I mean. Sometimes I look much better in blur. I'll allow it. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Oh, so we're moving on. I want to look a little bit at some of the trial today from Walshe. Let's see where we can go with that. Anybody have any more questions before I move on? Any more questions on the Turtle Boy or what happened today or what might not happen today? Anyone? Let me see. Oh, that's nice. Thank you so much. So much, KC1125, one Just to Serve TV membership. I mentioned it earlier, but we had a private members only last night going over the paperwork that was filed by Cosgrave 8 days late. And all of the outrageousness. And I even had to, where did I put it here? Oh, here it is. I had to go to my dictionary, the Buchanan Special Edition dictionary. Had to go to that a couple of times from the words that they plastered in that paperwork, which was just so unnecessary. Here's one of the words: hagiographic, overly flattering, portraying someone as perfect or much better than they are. That was the word that he was using to describe Aidan Kearney. And I think he also called him Saint Kearney. So that was fun. Anyway, it was good. It was good to have that member live back and forth, and I think we're going to make that a regular thing for those that to go to the extra mile to be a member. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the subs as well. Sherry, are you going to be out there? Are you actually going? Or yeah, well. Let's coordinate. Let's coordinate our days. So figure out when you're going to be there. It was, Casey, you're right. It was a vocabulary lesson, and I'm big on vocab. The other day we had Misdemeanor on. She was filling in for Linda Michel Bryant, and I got off on this tangent about words. I think either was the jumping off point. I asked her, "Do you say either? Or do you say either?" And I think she was an either person. I think she was an either. And I said, I kind of go back and forth. Neither one of them, I can go either way. And then we started going off into often, O-F-T-E-N. Is it often or often? Then people started adding, those who've watched it back again. We got a couple of new words to add. Realtor was one of them that Misdemeanor really has a bug in her bonnet about. Or is that a bee in her bonnet? Because people turned it into relator, like it's 3 syllables. Somebody wrote today, gosh, what was it was another word. I said, we got to add that to the list. And now, of course, I can't remember it. But everybody has, certain words that they just key in on somebody else pronouncing them wrong. And it just, once they start doing it, you just can't stop. And every time you hear it, you're like, so relator was her favorite word. And we got a few others that have popped up over the last few days. Let's see if I can find one that I saw here just a minute or two ago. I was looking at it and I said, oh, that's a good one. We should put that on the list. Anyway, I'll find it. I'll pass it along when I do. Anyway, if you have a word that's a private peeve of some sort because it's constantly mispronounced, hey, let us know. I am definitely putting. Oh, there it is. That's somebody just said that. Maybe this was. I don't know if you made this comment or not. Patriotic 572. Jewelry, not jewelry. Jewelry is 2 syllables. It is not jewelry. That's 3 syllables. not unlike realtor. It's not real. People who say realtor are not only adding an extra syllable, but they're putting an L kind of in the wrong spot. Realtor. No, it's realtor. See, that's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. Okay, so let me move on to. Let me get rid of this. Let me clean off my desk. I want to look at. This is testimony today from Mr. Keefe. This is Trupa Keefe. If you don't remember him from the Karen Reed 2 case, just think about the guy who pulled the tennis shoes out of the bag, okay? And don't get Will the Glairer started on which tennis shoe it was. Was it the right shoe, the wrong shoe, the right colored sole? That was a whole trial within a trial. Does this guy have the right tennis shoe, or is there a mystery tennis shoe? So he's back to testify, and he's testifying about communications by phone, either by text or he's talking about searches that are done as well. And so it's important testimony, but he did it sort of incompletely, meaning cherry picking would be the word I might mention. Eldante, 63. Michael, do you think, I guess that's Kate Peter or someone else wrote the paper? Cosgroves talks about himself in the third party. Yeah, I do believe, and I said when we read this thing last night, I said, I find it hard to believe he wrote that for many reasons. He doesn't come across to me as a walking dictionary. He seems like just, your uncle or grandpa that's just puttering around in the garage a lot. Not that I'm against puttering in the garage, but I just don't see him as, when you read Bettero's material and you hear him and we've had him on a few times, he's been in a lot of places, it makes sense. It matches. When you hear Cosgrave barely being able to spit out a sentence at the speed of molasses, you just don't put that pen in his hand. So, and I've said before, it's not like people don't have that kind of help in their offices, whether he's a solo or not. I'm not sure. He is special prosecutor after all. Usually there is some contribution by an associate or a law clerk, and then the person whose name is on the bottom, they got to give it the okay. That's very normal. I just don't know if in this case he just basically turned it over to somebody and said, here, bang this out, and I'm going to sign it. All right. Let's see, before we move on, if we have any leftovers in that category, please let me know. And if you put a little question marks before your comments, because I have sometimes trouble seeing them zoom on by. Okay, this may be the right transition. Thank you, I'm not 23, Sherilyn. You've got his nuts handed to him in a supreme fashion. Well, funny you should say that. And I'm going to have to wash your mouth out with soap. Let's take a look at some of that testimony. Again, let me set this up and find the right one here. There we go. Let's give you the still picture of him as I set this up. Let me go wide. Let me see. Is this wide? Is this the widest version? No, it is not. Here we go. Okay, so he's been on the stand. He was there a good chunk of yesterday, and then he came back on today to finish up. He's talking about all of these devices from which they pulled searches and text messages and actual calls. They don't have the substance of the calls, but they do have the time in the day and how long the call lasted. And that could tell you something. For example, there were a number of calls from, and let me say this as an aside, I appreciate how the court is asking the parties to not identify these devices by the persons. Like, that's Brian Walsh's phone. That's Anna Walsh's phone. Because, as I say all the time, we don't know who's using the phone, technically. So they've made a point of saying, something coming from this number and something coming from this number and to this number. Now, over time, you start to realize, let me see if I can find my references here for the phone numbers, because you really kind of need a roadmap. Once you start hearing the numbers over and over and over and over again, you go, oh yeah, that's the phone owned by Brian Walsh, or that's the phone owned by Anna. I've got him here somewhere. That's how well my notes are laid out. But there were a lot of 6s in them. I remember that. Anyway, I know the numbers by heart, and I think they reference them enough in this clip we're going to look at. But the bottom line is they don't make the assumption that it's Brian Walshe calling Anna Walshe, or it's Brian Walshe getting a text from Anna Walshe. They very clearly say it's coming from one number or the other. Does the jury make that distinction? No. They just assume, hey, it's his number, then it's certainly going to be him or her doing the dialing or the texting. So there was one point where they're making phone calls back and forth pretty long on Christmas Day. And so the assumption agreed to by Mr. Keefe was that this was during her drive. Remember, at about 12:30 on Christmas Day, texting back and forth, Brian Walshe, or the person with that phone number, hears that the flight has been canceled, weather issues. And so she basically says, I got to get in the car. And she does. So that's a long drive. I think she made it in something like 7+ hours. I think that's pretty quick, to be honest with you. But again, on Christmas Day, how busy are the roads? Let me see. I'm going to punch that up here real quick. Just let's do it from Ronald Reagan Airport, which I think is where she normally was going. And I will put that up too. I'm not going to put the address because, as I've said, it's the weirdest address ever. It's Chief Justice Cushing Drive, I think it is. So let's just make it more generic and say to Cohasset. How about that? Okay. This is from Terminal 1 at Reagan National. 7 hours, 45 minutes. So I guess she was right in line with the normal route. And this is at this point in time, Friday night. So maybe she did pick up a few minutes driving on the holiday. It is 469 miles, in case you ever want to make that drive. So anyway, during that drive, there's lots of calls back and forth, and an hour, 20 some minutes. There were long calls, and it made sense. Yeah, you're passing the time while you're driving. So that's the setup for this witness on cross-examination by Larry Tipton, who does an amazing job, to show that there is continued contact between these two by text, by phone call, at least in duration, and by some of the searches done looking for Porsches. Remember, there's that whole conversation about Brian Walshe wanting to get a Porsche for Anna Walshe, I guess for Christmas, or maybe just because she wanted one. There's back and forth about the sale of a property and the purchase of a property. All of these things happening so that the defense can say, look, everything was hunky-dory with these guys. He had no motive to kill her. There's very little evidence that he knew she was having an affair. That's certainly going to be fleshed out in the next few days. There's some suggestion maybe he was somehow getting texts that were not intended for him, but because of their shared phone account, she was getting them. And I understand that. I've seen that happen myself. So all of that is to basically show this witness is picking and choosing the things that he wants that show the defendant in the worst light. So let's get in there and tear that up by asking all of these important questions.
I want to refer you to now the text messaging that's been entered as Exhibit
This is at 1.5 times speed, by the way, because Tipton's fired up, but he's not quite this jacked up.
169 at page 7, and it's timestamp 10:59:32 a.m. And it appears that the phone is signed Anna Walshe text. When can they have the thing signed? Do you see that?
I do, sir.
And immediately following that, in the call log, Exhibit 168 is a phone call that lasts 6 minutes from the phones assigned to Anna Walshe and Brian Walshe. And it originated from Anna Walsh's phone, didn't it not?
I'm just checking the call log now, sir.
You see that?
I see the text, but I don't see the specific call you're referring to in the call log, sir.
Okay. Let me try to give you page 8, record number 96, timestamped at 11:05:17 a.m.
Page 8, 98 on this one has a different time and date, sir.
All right, what is it? Just tell the jury what it is.
This one is December 27, 2022, 10:41 a.m. That's number 98.
Okay.
This one.
And it lasts for 23 minutes, 10 seconds.
Yes.
Go on down to now, page 8, record number 96 on the same exhibit, 11:05:17 a.m. A phone call that lasts 6 minutes and 54 seconds.
Correct.
Now, we're going to jump down a little bit, and at Exhibit 169, the text messages, on page 8, a text message timestamped at 6:36:44, there's a text that reads, did they sign?
Yes, I see that.
And then you see a text following that, the very next text, timestamped at 6:39 p.m. in Exhibit 169. And it looks like it originates from the phone assigned to Anna Walsh. And she says, I emailed Stephen to see if he helped with the paperwork, correct?
Yes.
And then as we go through these text messages, the next text message is the phone assigned to Brian Walsh. She said they signed. That's the text message.
Yes.
Then the same phone text immediately thereafter, let's get this deal done.
That's correct.
And then there's a text from Anna Walsh, apparently, or the phone assigned to her immediately thereafter. Did she text you? You see that?
Yes, I do.
Then the phone assigned to Brian Walsh says yes. And then the next text is on page 10 at 6:39:36. Anna Walsh texts, at least her phone does, I didn't see it.
Yes, correct.
And then a few seconds later, that phone texts, great.
Yes.
And then that same phone assigned to Anna Walsh at 6:40 texts, let me have Stephen confirm and I'll Venmo them.
Yes, correct.
And then there's a text that says, great, from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh. Then immediate text about an hour and a half later that says, hello. And that's at page 11 on Exhibit 169 at 8:03:04.
Correct, yes.
So based on your investigation, and based on your review of this data, that series of texts where they're talking about a deal and Venmo and everything else, it appears to you, doesn't it, that they were involved in the sale of property? Is that fair to say?
It appears they were looking at.
So there you have that example of Tipton wandering off past the microphone, which is tricky. But what he's confirming here is that there was a deal of some sort, some real estate deal going on. They were selling some property, and then as they continue to talk, they talk about some Zillow. And I got into Zillow earlier today. Zestimates are ridiculous. Don't get caught up on what a Zestimate is. It's just it's basically an AI version of an estimate of value. It's a joke. So then they start looking at property they were going to buy, maybe for a rental property, investment property, things that you do when you're planning to go forward beyond, a couple of days. This is the 27th and 28th after she came up for Christmas, and then she basically went back and she drove up, remember, because the flight was canceled. So she was there a short period of time, and then she was circling back for New Year's. Let me zoom ahead here just to a few more examples of their communications, because it's so important this jury understands what that relationship was like in these important days.
And then page 5, record 60.
Yes.
Then what happens? Same day, 12:28, on the call log, Exhibit 168, at page 5, record 56, there is a 21-minute, 47-second phone call between the two phones assigned to Anna Walsh and Brian Walsh.
Yes, incoming call from 7966, assigned to Anna Walsh.
And then about 30 minutes later, another phone call, this time originating from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, that's for 15 minutes and 11 seconds.
Yes.
If you continue to scroll through the text messages that are contained in Exhibit 169, and I want to refer to page 30 and the text message timestamped 11:18 a.m., 11:18:10 a.m. You see the text coming from the phone assigned to Anna Walsh that said, it's incoming soon at 199K.
I do.
And the next text is, had 2 bathrooms, good shape.
Yes.
Next text from the phone assigned to Anna Walsh, offer 195K?
Yeah.
Response from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, probably. Do you see it?
Yes, sir.
Then immediately thereafter, a text that says, let's see what TJ says.
Yes.
And then there's a series of texts that immediately follow. Okay. Then there's another Zillow posting. We're now at page 32 of Exhibit 169. And then there's a specific reference from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh. They paid $80,000 in 2015, correct?
Yes.
So they're evaluating this property to purchase, to make an offer on. It's listed at 199. They're probably going to come in at 195, which is a pretty aggressive offer, in my opinion. There's one other area here that I want to get to, and I don't have it timed out perfectly, so I apologize for that. But it's a point at which they're basically having like a loose kidding conversation that you would expect any couple to have. So I guess the jury can decide whether that was fake or not. And then I'll give you my theory as to what I think actually happened.
22. We're looking at Exhibit 169, and there's a series of texts that began at 7:10:59 a.m. on page 14. And the phone assigned to Anna Walsh says, we'll work from home today, correct?
Somehow I found the right spot.
And then there's a text that follows 3 minutes later from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, says, feel better.
Anna Walsh is saying she's going to work from home Brian Walsh sends her note, feel better. Now, why is that important? On a number of levels, it's important. It's important because, yes, it's showing this continued relationship with them. And this was on 12/28. She's now back in Washington. It also shows that why was she not feeling well? What's going on? Because we know her health is critical to the defendant's argument here.
Correct.
And I mean, from reading those texts, it would suggest that Anna Walsh wasn't feeling well and she was working at home, correct?
Yes.
And then there's a text immediately thereafter from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh saying, let me get the boys ready. Correct?
Yes.
As we scroll through these texts, the text at page 16, timestamp 7:15:15 a.m., there's a text, comes from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, says, love you. Correct?
Could you scroll down a little further, please?
Page 16, timestamp 7:15:15 a.m.
Yes, correct.
And then immediately thereafter, there's a text, page 16, immediately following that text, coming from the phone assigned to Anna Walsh, and she says, love, or the phone says, love you too.
Correct.
The phone assigned to Brian Walsh says, I will get you a plunger, correct?
Yes.
Next text from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, and a Porsche.
Yes.
The phone assigned to Anna Walsh says, haha.
Correct.
Then Anna Walsh phone says, thank you.
Yes.
The phone assigned to Brian Walsh says they both start with P.
Correct.
Do you think that phone is referring to the Porsche and the plunger?
Yes, sir.
And then Anna Walsh, the phone anyway, responds, I'll take care of the plunger. You just get the Porsche, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a couple of texts back and forth saying, ha ha, ha ha, right?
Yes.
Immediately thereafter, at about an hour and a half later, same exhibit, 169, page 20, at 9:26:13 a.m., from the phone assigned to Brian Walsh, there's a screenshot of a Porsche, correct?
Yeah, it appears to be a vehicle. I don't know if it's a Porsche or not, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I have to stop there because we have two guys mispronouncing Porsche. Anyway, you could see where the defense is going here. This is, back and forth, feel better. I'll get you a plunger. I'm not sure what the plunger part is. Was there also a toilet stopped up? Or is he suggesting she's ill and stopping up the toilet? I don't want to go there, but anyway, he says, I'll get you a plunger and a Porsche. Ha ha, laugh, laugh. They both start with P. Yeah, I'll take care of the plunger. You get me the Porsche. All of that back and forth, to me, goes a long way to telling the jury that this does not sound like a couple on the verge of imminent collapse, or that a guy knows that his wife is having an affair. Does he or doesn't he? I don't know. All I know is that kind of back and forth suggests to me they ain't in trouble in his mind, right? So anyway, that's I think it was so important. This guy got off the stand today ultimately, and they jumped into a new witness that we'll pick up again on Monday. Heather Sullivan on the stand. She was, by the way, 22nd witness. Did she get? Oh, she got done. Sorry. 23rd witness Richard Atkinson is still on the stand. This guy is bizarre. I am the medical examiner from Boston. This guy's been doing that job for 11 and a half years, and you might be thinking, why is there an ME? We got no body. Well, I think where they're going, and they hadn't gotten this far yet, but they've gotten the carpet. They talked about the carpet, which has the stains on it and some presumed tissue. I think they're going to go into that, and he's going to confirm that, in fact, there is some tissue, muscle tissue, whatever it may be, on the carpeting. And that's as close as we've gotten to having a body. We also know, and we were looking at this earlier, on the Commonwealth's list is Priya Banerjee, who we've had on as a guest here. She was a frequent guest when we were at Law and Crime. And she is a medical examiner, basically an independent. And so they're having her on as well, or at least she's on the list. And we do know she's coming to New York on the 12th and or 13th because she's going to, I think, meet up with Linda Kenny Baden. I wasn't invited. No. I mean, she's right there down the street. So we think her testimony is going to sync up with that, which would be toward the end of next week. That may be just a best guess. Anyway, so very interesting for a no-body case to have an ME and perhaps another person who plays an ME, but is not officially an ME for the county. So that will continue once we get back in Monday. And the court gave the jury this estimate that 2 more weeks. I don't think it's going to be that long. based on 23 witnesses and how many we might have remaining and the guts that need to be explained to this jury for the prosecution. I could see the prosecution going just a few more days next week, maybe middle of the week, end of the week, they're done. And the defense, what are they going to take? 2-3 days? Again, Brian Walshe, that could be a chunk. I think they could have the case by the 10 days from now. That's my estimate. What do I know? I think the judge is much more likely to tell the jury, you got 2 more weeks of this, and overestimate it, because then she looks like, and they feel better when it turns out it's only a week and a half. Hey, great, it's less time than we thought. In their minds, they can suck it up for 2 more weeks, and then they learn that it's less, and they're excited about it. So, and we will be up there for part of it. I really got to try and figure out when the best day will be to get up there, because I'd hate to miss everybody. If I can get a Buchanan or a Proctor, if I can get a Brian Walshe, any of that stuff should be interesting. Should be very interesting. Let's see, what was this? Sarah, Michael, pleasant surprise to see you on. Rebecca, I can't remember how to pronounce her name. We did this so long ago. An ID mystery. Rebecca Zahow. This is the one, sometimes you do so many of these stories and shows, you forget which one is which. Wasn't this the one, and help me, Sarah, wasn't this the one where Ms. Zahow was found dangling off a rope off of a balcony in a very rich home, and it was one of the family members that was being tried? So, is that the one? Yes. Okay. Sarah, are some of the letters on your keyboard sticking? No. Yeah, I vaguely remember doing that one. I do remember the case was crazy. What they do, here's some inside info for you. When you're producing these shows, and I've done a few, your goal is to get, I want the DA that was involved. I want the cops that were involved. I want witnesses. I want, obviously, if you get one of the parties, a defendant that was acquitted. That's the target. Those are the folks you want to get. But quite often you need somebody to kind of, I call it connective tissue, to get you from this part of the story to this part of the story. That's where I come in. So I quite often will do that where I'm not connected to the story at all. I'm just kind of helping tell the story as a trial attorney or whatever they want to label me. And it's fun. It's it's a challenge. It's kind of a nice change of pace. And if I can help to tell the story, that's cool. I like to do that. So that one, I guess, is ID running some reruns? I suppose so. Everybody sees the Domino. Oh, Domino. I'm all wired up here, dude. I'm all wired up. Can I unwire so I can go let the dog in? Okay, stand by. Hold on. Hold on just a second here. Hold on. Sometimes when you disconnect, your microphone mutes. Okay. Anyway, I was saying he's got his little jacket on because it was 12 overnight. I think the high today was maybe 26, 28. Anyway, I have sound now or no? I don't have sound? I'm back, right? I'm back. Am I back? Muted. Still says muted. Am I still muted? I look like I'm on. It still says no sound. That's weird. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, like I said, when you unplug, it does weird shit. Anyway, yeah, so you saw that. Let me scroll back to see what that was again. I was looking for the follow-up on the show that ID is. I watched it on Tubi. Oh, okay. I think the husband did it and the son was unalived. Yeah, I remember it was very convoluted. It was kind of a Ritz area. Tubi is very interesting, which I think was, and I don't mean Tubi as in LKB's dog. That company was like a shoestring company. I did some work for one of those guys once. Very like low budget, because that was the way to get things done with, a less established platform. And then somebody comes along and buys them. And I think they were bought by NBC or Paramount or Hulu or somebody. Anyway, great. Some interesting opportunities for that. Yeah, I realize this, and I think this is the jury's challenge. I just can't get over somebody thinking they need to dispose of a loved one's body the way he did. No doubt about it. But I would direct people to, excuse me, don't eat that. Please don't eat that. I would direct people to the Jimmy Scandarito case out of Florida. I reference it many times because it is amazing that it was the death of the dad. There were drugs involved. Dad had a heart attack. Charged with his death and his dismemberment and disposal. Jimmy Scandarito takes the stand, bam, beats the murder charge. So it could happen. I don't think it will in this case, just because Brian Walshe is not as likable as the Jimmy Scandarito. So anyway, let me catch up on the comments here. Okay, good, got it. It's 9. Okay, somebody do the math for me. It's 9C here in UK at midnight. I think that's 48. Does that sound right? 9C. I know that 0 is 32, right? But it's not. I don't know my equivalents as you go up the centigrade scale. I know that a nice day is about 20 centigrade, right? Isn't that about 70? So in other words, it's 48 there. You're burning up, and it's like midnight. So okay, poor Domino. Yeah. Yeah, look at he's just. Oh wait, let me get that out of there. Poor Domino is tired. There he is. Look at that. He can hardly move. Domino. There you go. Okay. Anyway, 15 degrees at your house now. See, now we're talking. Let's all throw out our current temperatures. I think we're still in the 20s. We'll get into the teens, I think, tonight. And then you gotta do things like keep a little bit of tap water running, just a little bit. Things, even in areas like this where you're used to the cold during this time of year, it's a little early for it. This would normally be this extreme in January. But, oh, wait, there's the math. Okay, hold on. Multiply by 2 and add 30, okay? So multiply by 2, it was 9 degrees, so that's 18, and add 30, that's 48. Oh, okay. Now, I got into the law because I hate math, but that even I can handle that. Oh, that's brutal. That is brutal. Wait a minute. I got a couple of them here. We got some winners. Laura, 2 in Ohio. That would then be coming our way. So that would make sense. But I saw one even worse than that. 8. Okay, Queen of the Pool. Where are you, Queen of the Pool? -8 centigrade. Do you use the same math for that? Multiply by 2, so it's minus. And now I'm really confused. Where are you to be that cold? That's really cold. And where are you, and what would that be? Montreal. Really? I didn't think. I loathe winter weather. Yeah. I think in terms of the latitude and longitude, Montreal is just due north of where I am. I don't think it's a lot further east or west. I think it's kind of like right up there. So you're going to be a little cooler than we are here. 6 degrees centigrade where? In Germany. Okay. So let me do the math again. Times 2 would be 12, plus 30, 42. Yeah, did I get it? You like that? Is that going to be on the final? I love math. Rosemary Gallagher. First of all, I'm sorry that you love math. The one thing I did well in physics, and you might be thinking, well, physics is applied math, so I can put my hands and, I can touch whatever, like what is the speed within which this falls or something freezes, or, that's applied math. I can wrap my head around that, but just math in the abstract, man, it's brutal. It is brutal for me anyway. What do we got here? Somebody's freezing cold. Where are you? Freezing cold in Ontario, -12 last night. Thank you. There's the conversion. See, I knew it wasn't quite the same formula when you're going backwards, minus 21. I mean, that's just brutal. You can't even go outside for a minute. Things will fall off. Wow. Here we go. There we go. Whoops, not that one. I just can't keep up. Here we go. Janelle, I suck at math. But hey, the first step is admitting it. Now you're going to be fine. Okay, I don't know how we spun off on this, but I'm going to let you go for a Friday evening. My brain now hurts from all the math we've been trying. As an update, Walshe continues on Monday. It will be up there. JSTV will be up there sometime next week. I'm not sure when. And we'll be sporting this. Is that the right way? Oh, sorry. This. From the comments I've seen going by, this is going to be a keeper. That's what I'm seeing. I wanted just this, but the license plate gods here in Connecticut squashed that and gave me the Mr. JSTV, my backup. So Mr. JSTV will be hitting the road next week. We'll figure that out and keep you posted. And of course, anything that comes up in the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case, that will be a discussion as well. Yeah, I'm seeing, people say I love it. They like it. I love the plate. Keep it. Okay. I don't make any decisions anymore. I do it by group. What kind of toothpaste should I be using? Anyway. Okay. Good to have Linda Kenny Baden back. She'll be well rested, I hope, because next week I'm going to work her like a rented mule. Glad to have you guys along. Like, subscribe, share, do all of those things you're supposed to do. Have yourself a great weekend, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, please try to do the right thing.